much fun do you have in business? Give yourself a score. You don't have to show anyone, just write it down. Just write it down. Now, if I was to ask the people you work with, your co-workers, how much fun you have, what score would they give you? And write that one down. Write down that score. It's the first number that comes to mind is the right one. Don't think about it too much. Now, lastly, if I was to ask your customers or your vendors or people outside of your business how much fun you have, what score would they give you? Write that one down. Write them down. Now, which is the important score there? Customers? Which one feeds the customers? The first one, right? The first one. If you're having fun in what you're doing, that'll just translate to everything else. Now, here's the challenge though. In business, particularly when we start, it can be a lot of fun and exciting, but sometimes when we hit those challenges, business is ups and downs, right? It's never always a smooth, linear path. Sometimes the fun can come out of it. And what we've seen a lot of is that businesses lose, or business owners lose the fun when they lack the fundamentals, the basics of getting things right. And we're going to run through some of those tonight. But here's a question for you. If you're not having fun in business, how does that impact your team? How does that impact your life outside of work? And how does that impact the other people you work with? All right, it has a huge spin-off effect. Now, whose responsibility is it to have fun at work? Whose? It's ours, right? It's up to us. And fun means something different to everyone else. But I encourage you to take a look at that first score you've written down there and ask yourself, what's a couple of things I could do to increase that score by 1 or 2? And work on that. It'd be amazing the difference it can make. Business is a game. Business is a game. This is the thing I love about business. If you want to check how you're doing in business, what's your scorecard? Right? There's a number of scorecards, but one of the most important, I think you all agree with, is the bank account. Right? How much cash are we making? How profitable are we? So if you want to know how well you're doing in business, take a quick look at your financials. That'll tell you pretty quickly. It's not arbitrary, it's not subjective, it's right there. It's right there in your face. Now, here's the thing. I'm talking about knowledge as being the first key. I think most people put their hand up and said they want to earn more. Trick to earning more is learning more. All right? Knowledge is your number one limiting factor 9 times out of 10. Not knowing the things you need to know. All right. Let me tell you a quick story. We worked with a client. He'd been in business for quite a while. Was trying to recruit salespeople. And he approached us and said, listen, I had some challenges, been through 3 different salespeople, and I think I need some help with recruiting. I said, fair enough. We sat down and started having a bit of a chat. His name was Mike. And I said, Mike, so tell me about the first guy you brought on board. And he said, well, on paper he looked fantastic. He looked absolutely sensational. I said, and? He said, yeah, he came on board, and then the first assignment we sent him off to, we went up north, and the guy never came back. Okay, well, that's a problem. What about the second guy? He said, well, kind of a similar story. Again, it looked good on paper, but then the first better opportunity or offer that came along, he was off. He just took off. I said, okay, I'm seeing a little bit of a trend here. And I said, tell me about the third guy. And he said, well, actually, this guy, again, looked pretty good, and he stayed for 1.5 years. And I said, well, that's fantastic. He said, but he didn't sell anything. I said, okay, that's also a problem. So I said to him, Mike, in these 3 hires, what's the one consistent factor there? And he thought about it for a while, and he looked back up, and he said to me, well, Jamie, they were all idiots. I went, okay. Mike, what's something else here that was consistent in these 3 hires? And he thought about it again, and he sort of looked up, and he said, are you trying to tell me that it's my fault? I said, Mike, how could it be your fault? You only wrote the ad, you recruited them, you brought them on board, you trained them, motivated, inspired them, remunerated them. How could you be responsible for how these guys turn out? So in business, or in our life for that matter, what's the one consistent factor? Us, right? Not me, it's you. Right? So there's 2 ways that we can go through business. We call this above and below the line. We can go through and blame other people, come up with excuses, or live in a state of denial. That's one way you can approach things. And we've seen a lot of this recently with the economy, and that's been a great excuse for a lot of business owners. Then we've also got ownership, accountability and responsibility. It's above the line. Now if we think about this, and I know it's no one in this room, but do you know someone that operates down here? I mean, think about it. I'm going to share with you some pretty cool concepts tonight, but I'm going to tell you no concept that's more important than what I'm showing you right now. This one absolutely turns businesses around. We've worked with businesses where their team was operating down here, and then through some strategies and work with them on, the team starts operating up here, and all of a sudden they can have a direct impact on the bottom line. Direct impact. So a question to ask yourself, every moment of every day you make choices. Events happen to you, things go on. What choices do you make, or how do you respond to those events where you're living above the line to take control?